think some of you are trying and finding that part E is maybe a little bit trickier because you're converting it between two things that you're not given a conversion between those two exact things. You could do it twice, right? You could do kilometers to miles and then miles to feet if you want. So you could do it as two steps. Or you could do it as one step if you write your own conversion for this. So we're starting with 29.5. My personal favorite of these three ways is unit analysis because it completely shows me I'm doing it the right way because I put the units in the right place. I want to get rid of kilometers, so I put it there. And I want to keep feet, right? So I put those on top. I need to figure out how those are related then. So on that data booklet you have, you want something that is converting, that relates feet and kilometers, right? You don't have one that readily does that, but you could make your own, right? Because you have this one that converts miles and kilometers, right? You have a mile is that many kilometers, but you also have a mile is this many feet. You could just put this in instead, right? Instead of saying 1 mile is 1.609 kilometers, you could change that to 5280 feet is 1.609 kilometers. Okay, that's the one you could use for that one. You could do it one direct conversion. If you take that instead of thinking that as 1 mile, think of it as 5280 feet. That's what I mean by making your own conversion. Just saying, well, I know this has to be equal to that, right? Because if this is a mile and that's a mile, those are equal. Does that make sense? All right? I know you follow that logic, right? A mile is that, therefore those have to be equal. You could also put this many yards in there. You can substitute in anything you want and make your own conversion, and that's why this works well here. So if I recognize from that sheet, from your data booklet, if you recognize that 5,280 feet is the same as 1.609 kilometers, you can do it directly. Some of you are asking, how do I know which one goes on the bottom? How do you know which one goes on the bottom? The one you're trying to get rid of. This one's the one I'm trying to get rid of, and this is what I want to keep. So I put kilometers on the bottom. As long as these things are equal, then I'm good, right? I'm not changing it. Now you might say, okay, well there's the kilometers gone, but then how do I deal with this on my calculator? What do? I do this, times this, divide by this. Okay? Does everybody follow that? If you spend a bit of time on this, it's not as hard as you think it is. It is now because we're just starting it, right? But this is why I think unit analysis is best, because for the harder ones, you can be absolutely sure you're not writing it upside down, right? I think unit analysis is easiest because when you get to these ones where both numbers are strange numbers, neither of them's a 1, you know for sure you're doing it the right way. So on your calculator, then you can just do exactly what it says there, right? You can go 29.5 times 5280 divide by 1.609. And that gives you how many it is, right? Does that make sense? Does that answer seem reasonable? It's a big number. Does it make sense? So we have kilometers to feet. Foot's pretty short. A kilometer's pretty big. That makes sense to me. 96,805, probably that's close enough. Are we okay with this? It's sort of going slower than I thought, but that's always the way everything is, right? Everything in the world is like that. You think, it'll only take me 2 hours to do that. It ends up taking you 6 hours sometimes, right? It's the same here. I think, okay, well, 3 weeks we'll be done with this unit. We'll be able to move on. We're not done. That's okay. As long as we're working at it, we'll be okay. On Friday, we're going to, we're not going to push ahead to another section. We're going to just make sure we're okay, work on this, try to start thinking about wrapping up this chapter, and then do some planning for when we'll have sort of end of unit assignments due and tests and quizzes and all those sorts of things. What's your job between now and then is make sure you're trying to keep up on practice. We didn't mark 1.2, like we didn't trade it and give some feedback and mark it. You probably aren't, haven't started 1.3 yet. You should make sure you have managed to get 1.2 done, or come to ask for help, or ask somebody else for help. Okay? And you should start this.